Welcome to This Magical Life, where through heartfelt conversations, soul-lifting meditations, and inspiring stories, we explore what it means to live a life that truly nourishes the heart and soul. Join us in that fertile meeting place where psychology meets spirituality as we strive to make the world a better place, starting with ourselves. Hello. So welcome. Do come into the circle, and I can see already there are quite a number of you here. Lots of places from around the world. That's lovely to see you. Great to see you. Let me start with a little verse that I'll read now, and then I'll read it again in a little while. The way of love is not a subtle argument. The door there is devastation. Birds make great sky circles of their freedom. How do they learn it? They fall, and in falling they're given wings. Rumi. They fall, and in falling they are given wings. And the first one I've had in asked about depression, feelings of hopelessness and despair, and whether we could explore that as a topic and see whether Druidry or spirituality in general had something to say or something to offer. So let's just begin by tuning into how we're feeling. If we were boring, we'd say something like on a scale of 1 to 10, where 1 is feeling miserable and 10 is feeling fabulous. Where are you? But let's not be boring. Let's get a word instead. You can give a number if you like. I mean, sometimes it's helpful. I quite like those scales sometimes, because almost immediately you get an intuitive sense of a number. So by all means, give a number. But if you feel a word coming up, just bubbling up, that just sort of expresses that kind of essence of you in the moment. In the moment. Now, this is interesting, this combination of numbers and words, or the possibility to use numbers and words, because what it brings to mind for me is the contribution that a kind of behavioristic approach to psychology and the human self, which is where cognitive behavioral therapy comes from originally, coming out of that whole school of psychology that is often anathema to people like us who are kind of into spirituality. Anathema because it's originated in Pavlov's work with dogs, salivating response, seeing the human being as an animal that works through sort of stimulus and response mechanisms. However, the interesting thing is it does have a contribution to make, and at some level we do work with stimulus and response. But a spiritual approach says yes, but there's more to us than just this. And a rather good example of the way that other perspective can meet the reductionist behaviorist perspective is in acceptance and commitment therapy, ACT, which has this very hard-nosed, if you like, approach of cognitive behavioral therapy, which then meets mindfulness, the spiritually informed approach of mindfulness. And the two come together, these two unlikely characters meet and have a baby, and the baby is ACT, which has both. And looking here, when I see some of you combining a number with a feeling, we're kind of getting the best of both worlds, because it can be helpful to use a number. Okay, so now where are we going with this? One of the questions was the connection or the possibility that Druidry might have something to say to the problem of depression. And now the risk in short broadcasts is obviously simplification and not doing justice to the topic. So I want to kind of frame this all with this understanding that obviously I think that we can approach it, and we can do a little bit of work in visualization and meditation afterwards. So I'm going to give you a couple of references to if you wanted to explore this further. One is to an essay that I wrote called Contributions Towards Mental Health that Druidry can offer. So I'll give you that link, which goes into this in more detail. And I'll also give you a link to what's the website? It's called Mind My Peelings. And the strapline of this website is because even bananas have peelings. And so there's a nice sort of light-hearted approach to serious subjects, dealing with mental wellness. And I think in his particular essay that I'll link to, the guy who writes it expresses these ideas very clearly. And it's about a model that's arisen out of CBT, out of that approach, but that I think we can really use with usefully here. And that's this concept of the downward cycle of depression, and of the way that we can enter into a spiral. Something happens, some loss, some trauma, some physical, some event of some kind, or other cause, starts to lead towards stopping doing something. So say we stop going out, we stop seeing people, we stop doing the things that we like and that bring us enjoyment. And every time something like that changes, it feeds in on itself and we start going down and down and down. So we have thoughts that have a debilitating effect on our feelings, which have a debilitating effect on our actions, which in turn affect our thoughts, which affect our feelings and our actions. And we go down in this downward spiral. There's an upward spiral too, if we can learn to work with the upward spiral. In many ways, a spiritual teaching, I think, one of its functions is to offer help to get onto that upward spiral, where inspiring and positive thoughts trigger positive feelings, which trigger positive behavior. And then that positive behavior helps us to be open to more positive thoughts, more positive feelings, more positive acts. And we start to take an upward spiral. So very easy to talk about, very difficult in practice to reverse the situation when you're in a downward spiral. But how can one perhaps make an attempt? When you look at the value that a spiritual path or spiritual teachings can offer to people, one of the values is a sense of community, is a sense of connection at a social level, which even here I find exists, even with all the limitations of the internet. There's a real feeling of connection, I think, that we can tune into. And the other day, my friend Peter Owen Jones, who came and sat by me here and talked, after we finished Tea with the Druid and I ended the broadcast, he looked at me and he said, "Do you know, that was extraordinary. I could feel connected to everyone in the circle. Me sitting here, I don't feel like I'm sitting in a room on my own in East Sussex. I feel as if somehow, in some mysterious ways, we're together." And that brings a sense of connection. And one of the things that happens with the downward spiral is an increasing sense of disconnection, feeling disconnected from other people, disconnected from, in the end, our own feelings and our own thoughts, our own sense of self, but also disconnected from the world of nature and the life happening around us and so on. So by making an attempt, however small, to reach out, say by participating in a group like this, helps to facilitate that upward spiral, because we are making a connection, we're reaching out, going out into nature, even though the downward spiral is trying to tell us that it's not even worth going out and why bother. Just going out and being with nature, connecting with nature, And if one can't go out or doesn't want to go out, even connecting with nature in the imaginal world is really powerful, as I think a lot of us experience when we meditate together and sit in a natural setting together in the world of the imagination, in the other world, if you like. That can have a similar effect of connecting us to nature. I can see that some very important comments are coming in, but I know if I start reading them, I'll get really distracted. So please know that I will read them, if not later on in the broadcast, then at the end. So already the reaching out to others, feeling a sense of connection to others, and feeling a sense of connection to nature are two really big steps. In addition, Druidry offers this festival scheme of working with these 8 festivals about every 6 weeks or so, that gives us something to move towards. It's like now we've got, how long have we got? We've got 2 weeks. In 2 weeks' time, we're moving to the festival of Imbolc. It's a time when we can pause and we can open to Imbolc. If you're a member of the Order of Bards, Ovates and Druids, you know about this. You get lots of material about this. If you're not, if you go onto the druidry.org website, there are suggestions for solo ceremonies and so on that you can do. But this is a ceremony where we open to the feminine, the divine feminine, the feminine in nature, time of quiet contemplation and of tuning in to the idea of motherhood, of childbirth, of the beginning of and the continuation of a cycle, because birth is featured in Druidry at the time of the winter solstice, when the sun is reborn, the time of Imbolc, February the 1st, when the first flowers are starting to be born and there's just the first hints of spring, and then again at the spring equinox. But so what these festivals do is they give us moments to work towards. Sometimes it can be overwhelming to think of the big picture. They give us moments to just handholds that we can hang on to as we go through life. And it inculcates or suggests to us that every aspect of nature has certain gifts for us, so that we can turn to trees, for example, and by connecting deeply with a tree and opening ourselves to the tree, not necessarily having some kind of intellectual understanding of what we're doing, but on a kind of embodied and heart level, just being open to the idea that this tree is a beneficent being, is a benign being who simply being in their presence can heal you, can be extremely powerful. You know the way when somebody can hold you, just hold you, and that's all you need. You don't need words. You don't need anything more in terms of physical intimacy. You don't need an explanation. You just know that you can melt, you can let go, you can lean on, you can be in the warmth and shared humanity of this hug, this embrace, this connection. And that in itself is healing. If we can think about times like that we've experienced or would like to experience, that is what Druidry is encouraging us to do in many different ways. With trees, with the earth, with the animals, with our inner guides, with our friends and fellows in our community around us. And even here in this unusual situation we are in this evening, us together in a circle, we can experience that sense of support and sustenance. So there are ways of therapy where you go to the trauma and you address it and so on. This way that I'm suggesting is another way of working, where by taking one small step, one action that will help to change the direction. That's why I read that poem at the beginning of our time together. I think that's why I read it. And let's do a meditation now. This is a perfect time to do a meditation that will demonstrate this and embody it. We don't have to think about it. We can just enter into the meditation. And then afterwards, perhaps we can talk about it. So let's try this, if you will, if you wish. And if you don't feel like doing it right away, you can always just kind of listen and then choose to do it later if you like the sound of it afterwards. So here's the invitation to either lower your gaze or to close your eyes to better concentrate on yourself. And in doing this, there's a part of you, perhaps the whole of you, that feels you can let go a little bit. Because when you close your eyes, it reduces all that mass of visual input that's coming in through your eyes. You can drop down a little into yourself, into a more peaceful state. And taking in a deep breath, holding for a bit at the top, and then letting out with a sigh and just letting go and letting go, letting go. Doing that one more time in your own time. And now, even as you're completely aware and fully aware of being seated in front of your screen, perhaps you can just allow your awareness of your surroundings to fade as you become aware of being in the clearing, being in a sacred grove. You can sense the earth beneath you, the trees around you, and the sky above you. And you feel the stability of the earth. So every time you breathe out, you feel yourself more and more anchored and stable on the earth. Every time you breathe in, you feel the stability and healing power of the earth rising up into you. And then as you breathe in and out, you notice the perfume of the trees, the essential oils of the trees that you're breathing in. And you're aware of the presence of these trees, which are anchored so deeply in the earth, yet which rise up into the air, creating this sense of majesty, stability, protection, and strength all around you. And you become aware of the sky above you. And you breathe in the energy of the sky. The energy of the sky meets the energy of the earth within the center of your being. And you feel drawn now to following a little path that leads out of the forest, because it's those few moments before the dawn when the last of the night stars are disappearing from the sky, the glow of the dawn, and you walk through the forest now, walking a little bit uphill as you go through the forest, sensing the presence of the trees and the creatures in the forest. And you come out of the tree line now and you find yourself moving towards the summit of a hill. Just as the sun begins to rise on the horizon. You get to the summit of the hill and there's a really convenient stone, rock, just the right height for you to sit on. So you comfortably sit on the rock and gaze out across the horizon as the sun rises. And as you look out across the landscape, I'm going to read this poem again. The way of love is not a subtle argument. The door there is devastation. Birds make great sky circles of their freedom. See the birds now, circling in the sky, circling in the dawn light. Birds make great sky circles of their freedom. How do they learn it? They fall, and in falling they're given wings. And see now one of these birds dropping down and then meeting a thermal rising up. And it just opens its wings wider and it lifts up on the thermal and starts flying up into the air. And follow it with your eyes as it goes higher and higher in the sky. And as it gets higher and higher, it becomes tinier and tinier to your vision until it's just literally a dot. And then at a moment, the dot just disappears because it's flown so high. And now it drops down again in the sky, and now it's flying up on another thermal, making great sky circles in its freedom. And you might like to imagine now that you're flying, that you're picking up a thermal and just spreading out your wings and being carried by the air to make great sky circles in freedom. And you fly around the landscape and the countryside, feeling the warmth of the rising sun on your wings. You make a great arc, you turn in a great arc around, and you fly back to settle on the rock at the top of the hill. And then you magically transform back into being yourself, seated at the top of the hill, feeling that sense of elation, that sense of the thermal lifting you up within the center of your being, the very heart of your being. And with freedom and joy in your heart, knowing that you can return to this place at any time to fly again on these thermals, you now start to walk down the path leading towards the woodland that you see below you. And you notice how your steps are lighter, how you feel joy in your soul. Coming into the woodland now, sensing the woodland creatures, sensing the spirit of the forest, coming into the clearing, finding your place in the clearing, seated around the fire, and becoming aware of your friends, of your fellow travelers, seated in a circle around the fire too. And this warms your heart, just as the fire warms your body. And you stretch your hands out to either side to take the hands of the people sitting to either side of you. And you experience that warmth and connection even more strongly now. We swear by peace and love to be together hand in hand. Mark, O Spirit, and hear us now, confirming this, our sacred vow. And we feel blessed by the sense of connection and community, blessed to be together around the fire. We gradually let go of the hands to either side of us and bring our hands to our hearts. And you might want to do this physically too, to feel the warmth in our hearts. May each of our lives be blessed. May the land be blessed. May all life be blessed. And coming back to a sense of yourself and to have been blessed, you gradually allow your awareness of the sacred grove to fade as you become aware of being seated in front of your computer screen, here and now, still retaining within you that sense of buoyancy, of uplift, of warmth, and of connection. And when you feel ready, you open your eyes. So, thank you. So I'm now going to paste in the link to Mind My Peelings. What I like about it is it just presents this idea about the cycles, the downward cycle, the upward cycle, and suggestions for how you might deal with it in a very direct and clear way without psychobabble. And then if you're interested in how mental health benefits of Druidry, I'll paste in here this link to an essay that I wrote about that. So I hope that was helpful. Many, many blessings, much love. And I very much look forward to seeing you next week. Okay, much love and many blessings. Bye.